in addition, I would say that there's a lot of interest in Jewish temperance or Jewish sobriety in the Caribbean. It tends to be a point of ethnographic curiosity, like how sober are Jews or how drunken are Jews when people are describing them. And in both Jewish self-descriptions, like in David Nassi's historical essay he wrote in Suriname in 1788, he in that very interesting book, which is interesting for a lot of other reasons, he states that the Jews were especially sober and temperate in their drinking habits. And that's an interesting case that he's making. It's a way of saying that Jews were more productive members of society, that didn't give in to the social ills that the Europeans were seeing the white Creolized class doing, and also the people of color who are also accused of being drunk. And that was the case of Edward Long, who was a chronicler of Jamaica in the 1770s. He talks about white Creoles, white Christian Creoles, as being drunkards. He's very critical of white Creole culture, but he also talks about the free people of color as being drunk on rum all the time. And he uses the Jews. His ethnographic descriptions of Jews are very interesting, and he uses the Jews as this model to contrast with that. So the Jews, by comparison, are extremely sober and have very long lives that are very salubrious because they don't drink a lot of alcohol. And he credits their abstinence from alcohol with their long life. So it kind of features in interestingly into how people are describing Jews and how Jews are describing themselves. And then I would say connected with that, Edward Long tells a very interesting story about Jewish alcohol production.
Yeah.
And this is what I was most excited to share with you. So Edward Long, so at the same time as he holds up this model of Jews being especially abstinent and temperate and all of that, they are of course greedy, and they are trying to undersell and get away from having to pay the very high tariffs on alcohol and other kind of productions. So what they do, according to Edward Long, in order to skirt these different tariffs and taxes there on alcohol production, is they make this moonshine, and it's made with they call it, Edward Long says it's called new rum, maybe because it's not fermented long enough, or maybe or it could be that it's from, I suspect what he means by that, and I can't be certain, but apparently when sugarcane is harvested prematurely, it's not very good. And so sometimes they use that to make the rum, as opposed from making the sugar that they're exporting back to England. So maybe it means that it's been prematurely cut down. I'm not sure what he means by the new rum, but they make this thing called new rum, which they distill with pepper, and and all kinds of other things, ingredients, he says. He doesn't specify what. And they make it in their stalls at the market in Spanish Town. And they sell it for extremely low prices. And who do they sell it to? They sell it to the poorest, the soldiers. The militiamen are there consuming this very dangerous moonshine. And what Edward Long is criticizing the Jews for doing is, selling this very dangerous drink that has a very high fatality rate. Like, people were dying from consuming this very poisonous moonshine.